The Rewind Sports.
Sports 60. From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town. Chicago! And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're streaming, broadcasting live from the world's famous Ciaranello's Ristorante Italiano right here in the heart of Wheeling, inside the Candle Room on the second floor of Ciaranello's Ristorante on Wheeling, located at Lake Cook Road and Milwaukee Avenue Restaurant Row. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, for this unfortunately disappointing playoff loss by our own Chicago Bears over on the lakefront at Soldier Field. The Bears were defeated in a wild card game of the NFC by the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Foles. The final score over on the lakefront, 16-15, in a thriller, ladies and gentlemen, a thriller. If you want to join in, if you want to be a part of this post-game podcast, please give us a call. We're at 847-777-0140, 847-777-0140. Love to hear your comments. The Eagles knock off the Chicago Bears 16-15 in the wild card game to advance in the playoffs. The defending Super Bowl champions will be moving on. They'll take on the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees next weekend, Saturday, I do believe, down in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. If you feel free, give us a ring. I don't know where we start, I don't know where we finish, but unfortunately, the finish happened with seconds to go in the fourth quarter. An opportunity for the Bears to win the football game in advance. And Cody Parkey, field goal attempt, as we've seen him do many a times throughout this season, hits the upright, ladies and gentlemen, hits the upright and bounces back into the field to play. The Bears fall short, and you've got to feel for Cody Parkey, because actually he was kicking pretty decent. I think he had a 36-yarder, 29-yarder, 34-yarder, but unfortunately, to account for 9 of the Bears' 15 points, but unfortunately, when the Bears needed it, when it had to count, he came up just a little bit left. It hit the upright. I've never seen, I got to tell you, I feel for the man, and I hope that his teammates, they pick him up and they rally and support this guy. Will the Bears bring him back? I think he's got $9 million on the table for next season, but you cannot afford, especially in a playoff game, ladies and gentlemen, especially in a playoff game, you cannot afford to go out like this. And the gentleman, for whatever reason it may be, he's hit the uprights. I've never seen it before, but again, I hope his teammates are picking him up and rallying behind him and saying, hey, we got you. But we talked about it. Hopefully we'll get a chance to hear from Kelly Lee Williams. Hopefully we'll also get a chance to talk with Gabe Salgado. Both gentlemen had an opportunity to check out the football game. We'd love to get their perspective as well. I'm flying solo right now at Ciaranello's Ristorante, but I talked about this on the previous shows, in particular last week, and I love Kelly's optimism. I love his love for this Chicago Bear football team, and thank goodness for Matt Nagy and these guys. We finally get to the playoffs after 8 seasons of not even getting there. 4 consecutive subpar seasons last year. Matt Nagy, in his first year as the head coach for the Chicago Bears, able to rally this team and get them to a 12-4 finish. Winners of the NFC North Division title and advance to the playoffs to get the home field advantage. And we knew it was going to be a tough football game against this Philadelphia Eagle football team, the defending Super Bowl champions. But I told everyone, listen, the 12-4 record is good during the regular season, but now it's a clean slate. Everyone in these playoffs, 0-0, and you have to play hard-notch, tough football. And unfortunately, the Bears, I got to tell you, They went into the locker room at halftime with a 6-3 victory. Again, 2 field goals, 36-yarder and 24-yarder by a 34-yarder and 26-yarder by Cody Parkey to get into the locker room with a 6-3 lead. And you got to take your hat off not only to the Bears defense, but of course to the Philadelphia Eagles defense. Those guys came to play football this afternoon over on the lakefront at Soldier Field, and it was I loved it. I thought it was a really good, hard-fought football game. I'm also commending the quarterback play. I said that in order for the Bears to win this football game, Mitchell Trubisky not only had to manage the offense, but Mitchell Trubisky could not make any mistakes. And he almost gave away a couple of mistakes, a couple of INTs that were dropped by the Philadelphia Eagles. So he escaped that. But Mitchell Trubisky in the first half, along with Nick Foles in the first half, I thought they played exceptionally well football because they were able. The Bears defense were all over Nick Foles and his experience, the MVP of the Super Bowl last year, incidentally, but that experience carried over into this playoff game, and Nick Foles was able to get rid of that football and find his open receivers, release the ball, he'd stay in the pocket, he'd get hit, but he would release it at the last second to get that offense moving down the field. Nick Foles, 23 of 40 for 266 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. We'll get a chance to talk about that. Total yards on the day for the Philadelphia Eagles offense, 300 yards. But he showed why he indeed was the MVP of the Super Bowl last year because of the composure. And keep in mind, this guy had some bruised ribs. The doctors, trainers took care of him during the week. We weren't sure if he was going to be 100%, which I'm sure he wasn't 100%, but the medical staff, the team for the Philadelphia Eagles were able to take care of this man, take care of him, get him healthy. He got out there and he ran his offense. Alshon Jeffrey, who says, hey, I have the best hands in the National Football League, was a very, very strong component as far as key elements in this offense. Moving the ball down the field. You got to take your hat off to Golden Tate as well. Golden Tate with that incredible touchdown catch on 4th and goal. 4th and goal inside the red zone. Nick Foles, after a lengthy timeout, drops back, looks to his right, throws it to the corner. Golden Tate comes up with it. The man with the golden hands, Golden Tate, comes up with it. And the Philadelphia Eagles take the lead, 16-15. They could not convert on the 2-point conversion there. And, of course, the Bears had that great opportunity to move the ball down the field. Great play calling by Matt Nagy. Great execution by Mitchell Trubisky. And great, I tell you, the most valuable player for this Chicago Bears football team this season, ladies and gentlemen, there's no question about it. It has to be the little guy, 5'6", 181 pounds. Number 29, Tariq Cohen. Tariq Cohen put the Bears in great field position. He put them in great field position. Mitchell Trubisky had a big pass to get them in scoring position. And again, they set everything up. They set everything up for Cody Parkey. And I got to tell you, good work by NBC Channel 5, who carried the game. Sunday Night Football, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya did a great job, but they actually had an opportunity to talk with Cody Parkey earlier this week, before the game, of course. And Cody said, not earlier this week, but before the game, Cody Parkey told them that, hey, I feel really good. I feel I can kick at least a 53-yarder if I had to. And he had the distance, there's no question about it. But whatever his psyche is, whatever's going on in his head between the ears, Cody Parkey, he found the upright once again, bounces back into the field of play, and the Philadelphia Eagles hold on to a 16-15 victory, advancing to the playoffs, divisional playoffs against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. Again, feel free to give me a call, 847-777-0140, 847-777-0140 if you want to jump in. The Bears in their 2018-2019 football season with an overall record of 12-5. Mitchell Trubisky on the day, 26 of 43 for 303 yards, 356 total offense for the Chicago Bears, 1 touchdown for Mitchell Trubisky. We're going to take a short time out here at Sarah Noel's Restaurant Italiano here in Wheeling. Going to wet our whistles a little bit, and when we come back, we'll reach out to see if we can get a hold of one of our TRS60 correspondents, Gabe Salgado, get him on board to join us and talk a little bit about what he thought happened in this football game regarding the Chicago Bears. It's a heartbreaker, ladies and gentlemen. There's no question about it. It is heartbreaker. It's a disappointment. But I don't want people to be that disappointed. It's been a long time, no question, since we've advanced to the playoffs. But this team is well deserving in some accolades. And they have 5 Pro Bowlers, 7 alternates. Matt Nagy is the candidate for Coach of the Year. So there's a lot to look forward to, a lot of positivity, if we can use that word. And we see what happens during the offseason, whatever acquisitions the Bears can make. But again, the final over on the lakefront on a disappointing Sunday, first week of the playoffs for our Chicago Bears football team. The last game of this first week of NFL playoffs, and the Bears fall to the Philadelphia Eagles by a final score of 16-15. You're listening to the Rewind Sports 60, broadcasting from the world's famous Ciaranello's Ristorante Italiano right here in the heart of Wheeling. Keep it locked in, ladies and gentlemen. You've got the Rewind.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Bucks! Woo!
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
This portion of the Rewind Sports 60 broadcasting from Serenello's Ristorante in Wheeling is sponsored by the Midwest Pro Sound and Lighting Nerd Audio Synth Shop in Chicago. They are friends of the program. From rentals to studios to lessons, repairs, and installations, Midwest Pro Sound and Lighting Nerd Audio Synth Shop in Chicago is your one-stop destination. Midwest Pro Sound and Lighting Nerd Audio Synth Shop in Chicago is located at 1613 West Belmont Avenue. Feel free to drop by Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. or give them a call at 773-975-4250 to say hello. And remember, tell them the Rewind Sports 60 sent you.
This portion of the Rewind Sports 60 broadcasting from Serenello's Ristorante is brought to you by the Liquor Barn. They are friends of the program. From beers to spirits and champagne, the Liquor Barn is your libation destination for parties, banquets, weddings, and more. And don't forget to mark your calendars for the annual Wine Fest this fall. The Liquor Barn is located on the corner of Dundee and Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling, 287 East Dundee Road, and their Niles location is 8170 West Golf Road. Feel free to drop by and say hello, and always remember to drink responsibly.
If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago. Welcome back, everyone, to the Rewind Sports 60. We're broadcasting from the world's famous Serenello's Restaurant at Daliano, right here in the heart of Wheeling. This is Jerry Riles. We're in the candle room on the second floor of Serenello's. Guys, come on down here. It's a great atmosphere, great environment. They have brunch every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They also have, of course, lunch if you want to join in. They have dinner. It is a great establishment. We're here every Sunday. Love to see your smiling faces. If you want, you can drop on by. But this is our Bears playoff post-game show, and unfortunately, the Bears, they failed. They are eliminated by a final score of 16-15. The Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Foles, you can see the highlights here, they knock off our Chicago Bears. As I told you, 16-15. Nick Foles, 25 of 40 for 266 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs. The big touchdown coming at the end of the game with Golden Tate and that reception on 4th and goal. What a time for them to come through, and what a time for Nick Foles and the experience of the Philadelphia Eagles playoff team for them to come away with the victory to eliminate our Chicago Bears. Now, keep in mind, the Super Bowl team, the defending champion Super Bowl team, Philadelphia Eagles, they're not the same team from last year. They had some players banged up. The offensive line was almost pretty much superb. They were intact. They did a very good job, I thought, the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line did, in protecting him and giving him enough time, just enough time to find his receivers and move the ball down the football field. So all in all, I thought it was a pretty good game on both parts. Unfortunately, the question we have to ask as far as our defense is concerned, as everyone said, top 5 defense, top 3 defense in the National Football League. But are they that good? We talked about playoff experience, and we talked about what was needed for this Bear football team to advance, but we felt that this defense would be able to carry carry this Bears football team, especially if Mitchell Trubisky could manage the offense, which again I thought he did a pretty decent job of doing that. But when it was gut check time, the defense, I mean, they let Nick Foles and that offense move down the football field, and of course, the bread and butter, 4th and 1, 4th and goal, that defense, and I give them a lot of credit for what they were able to accomplish during the regular season, but that's when you have to step up your game. And unfortunately, one play too short, one play that they gave up that they wish they could have back, and unfortunately, the missed field goal late in the game to possibly get the lead, and the Bears are going home. But what are the things the Bears are going to need to do during the offseason to shore up this defense? You thought with Khalil Mack coming in and the big deal that Ryan Pace was able to pull off, that it was destiny. You thought with Roquan Smith, even though he had to hold out and missed a lot of the training camp and everything, you thought his addition was going to be, in addition to the success of this defense. Vic Fangio, you knew he was going to call a pretty good football game, and he did. But I think what happened, and this is what teams, and I talked about this before. In the latter part of the regular season, is that in order to beat this Bears football team, and in order to more or less beat the Bears defense, you had to keep them on the football field. You had to keep them off balance, and you had to do it for 60 minutes. Or, you had to play 60 minutes of football, 30-plus minutes of football if you're an opponent's offense, but you had to keep the Bears off balance. You had to keep Khalil Mack sucking up wind. You had to keep Akeem Hicks sucking up wind. And for the most part, the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Foles, they did exactly that. And seconds remaining in this football game, the Bears just didn't have enough in the tank to do what they had to do. But it was interesting because that two-point conversion that the Eagles tried to pull off, it was pretty clever. It's kind of like Walter Payton-esque, where the back jumped over to try to extend the ball across the goal line. And unfortunately for the Eagles, the Bears were able to snuff it, to stop it, and hope to try to get down there for the winning field goal. Folks, on our TRS60 hotline, we're pleased to be joined by our contributor. He does a sensational job all around Chicago, one of the best in the business. He's on our TRS60 hotline. He's Gabe Salgado, contributor to the Rewind Sports 60. Gabe, how are you?
I'll tell you what, even though that was disappointing to see how that game ended up, but at the same time, I didn't expect the Bears, I didn't expect them to be in the playoffs, much less how far they've gotten today. But I'll tell you what, two things. I mean, obviously everyone on social media is going crazy about the missed kick by Cody Parkey, but let's not forget that the Bears put themselves in that position by using their timeouts on defense when they had a lead. Yes, Philadelphia was driving the ball, but if they had not called those timeouts, they would have drained some clock and forced the Eagles to use their timeouts. And what ended up happening is on that drive where they tried to set up Parkey for the game-winning field goal, there was some more clock mismanagement. After that first pass completion, they should have spiked the ball then instead of using the timeout, because then what they could have done is on that third down play, they could have had a short run play to put Parkey in a better position, then use that last timeout and get a better kick. Now, there's no guarantee that would have resulted in the main field goal, but the point is that the Bears kind of put themselves in this position today.
Yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people scratch their heads, particularly former athletes who played for the Bears, Super Bowl team Bears back in '85. They kind of scratch their head on some of the play calls by Matt Nagy, and of course we've seen it happen during the regular season where it's mismanagement of the clock, whether he's calling a timeout where he shouldn't have called a timeout, or maybe he's throwing a challenge flag where there doesn't need to be a challenge flag. It's always been questionable, especially late in some of these football games where Matt Nagy's decision-making has been somewhat questionable, and you can certainly point to that in this game, this loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. But for all practical purposes, Gabe, the Bears still were able to get down the football field and put Parkey in field goal range to get the field goal. And again, I don't know what it is. Maybe you've seen this before. Maybe you have some insight. I've never seen anything like it before. The number of field goals that this guy has missed and how he's missed them, hitting the upright. So with all the miscues or mismanagement of the clock and field management as far as Nagy is concerned, and maybe a little bit of Trubisky, although he executed well, they still had a position to win this football game. And unfortunately, the young guy comes up short, and the Bears season is over.
Well, some of those decisions you could chalk up to inexperience. Remember, this is Nagy's first season as a head coach. He had just been a play caller prior to this, so this is all new to him to some degree. And as far as the kicking goes, it's almost like Connor Barth all over again. I don't know how the Bears can justify keeping Parkey for next season, especially with that guaranteed money that they gave him. They're just going to have to take the hit, pay him the money to walk away, basically, and cut him loose and get somebody in here, even if they have to draft a kicker. Somebody that's going to make the field goals, and it's not going to, wide ride and hitting crossbars and stuff like that, because Parkey doesn't have the accuracy, obviously. And there was a stretch during mid-season where he only made 3 out of 7 or 8 attempts, and that's not good if you want to be a kicker in the NFL. And the Bears, they stood by him throughout the season, but at this point, even though the team kind of put him in that situation, at the same time, you get paid to make those kicks, and I don't see how they can justify bringing him back next year.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard this during the week, early in the week, but there was a guy who started a GoFundMe page to raise money to pay the $9 million back to the Chicago Bears to get Parkey out of here. And I got to tell you, he only had raised maybe a couple bucks, but I guarantee you, if that thing is still up now, he's probably got people calling and giving him money to get this guy out of here. It's just a disappointing situation. It's just kind of a disappointment to the end of the regular season, and to bail out the way that they did. Again, congratulations to this Chicago Bears team, and of course Mitchell Trubisky for what he was able to do to manage the offense, Matt Nagy for the play calling and those sorts of things. But to lose it like that, after I thought it was a pretty good football game, but to lose it like that, it is very, very heartbreaking, and it's going to be a long winter for this guy Parkey. And Bear fans, I know they can't wait for the next season to get underway. We're on the phone. We're on our TRS60 hotline with Gabe Salgado, contributor, supporter of the Rewind Sports 60, talking Bears, doing his Bears playoff post-game podcast, broadcasting from Serenello's Restaurante right here in Wheeling. So, in your opinion, where did the Bears look? You said that Cody Parkey, he's got to go. And it's unfortunate, but he's got to go. Where do they go from here?
The only place that I could really see them, as far as adding or subtracting or making some changes, maybe, the secondary, obviously they gave up some big plays today. Maybe you want to shore that up a little bit. I know Eddie Jackson went out there. He wasn't 100%. And, and then obviously, they've given up some plays at times during the season where, it kind of makes you question, is this the right, group in that defensive backfield? Maybe they'll take a second look there. As far as offense goes, I say maybe shore up the offensive line because, you've had some injuries. Kyle Long was banged up again this year. You've had to make some moving parts at times during the season. And, it helps when you have the same five guys out there every week. So maybe they might want to shore up the offensive line as well. But beyond that, everybody just has to get more experience. You got to understand a lot of the younger players have never tasted the postseason before, and then you have veterans who haven't played in the postseason quite some time because their first couple years with the Bears they didn't have that luxury. So I think other than those small changes, you just gotta grow from this and gain more experience as far as I'm concerned.
You know what, Gabe? I know some very good points that you bring up, but to go back to your comments on Matt Nagy with ill-advised timeouts and poor management down the stretch. One of the culprits as far as the 16-15 loss is concerned, I still felt he put them in position and they just needed that field goal. And I'm sure he felt the same way. But I think this may be where the Bears probably lost this football game, Gabe. And usually, especially works in basketball, when you come out of the locker room, they say the first 5 to 7 minutes is very crucial and can determine the outcome of any game. The Bears came out of the locker room with a 6-3 lead. The third quarter, around it. Now here's I think where they lost it. On the Eagles' sixth possession on their own 17-yard line with 9:43 left in the third quarter of action, they start their drive. Amos, you remember this at 8:14 mark, personal foul, unnecessary roughness against Ertz for the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? Then there's a 3rd and 5 from the 40, 9-yard pass to Golden Tate down to the 49-yard line. At the 6:36 mark of the third, the Bears penalized again with too many men on the field. And Vic Fangio was furious. He was furious because that's a mistake you cannot make in the playoffs, especially against a team like this. The next penalty, that's the second penalty on this drive. The next penalty came at the 5:26 mark. Amukamara pass interference on Matthews at the Bears' 10-yard line. Driving from the 17, their own 17-yard line, all the way down to the Bears' 10-yard line, the 5:26 mark. 7 plays, 83 yards, 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Dallas Goedert, 10-yard touchdown pass from Foles. two tight ends set. The Eagles take the lead 10-6. That's where I think the Bears, you can put a finger on it and say they may have lost that football game right there.
Well, I mean, yes, that was a mistake-filled drive. It was probably the worst defensive series they had of the game. But, then Trubisky came right back and led the Bears downfield to another touchdown and take the lead back. So that kind of made up for that. But then, like I said, it goes back to that final drive for the Eagles in which they took the lead for good. The clock's winding down, and the clock is really your only friend at that point. You're trying to take off as much time as possible, especially since the Eagles are trying to tie the game. Why are you calling timeouts and giving them time to call plays and sort out what they're going to do at your expense? That's going to be the biggest thing I take away from this game. It started off as a defensive struggle early,
right?
And then yes, there was that third quarter series where they were getting penalized on defense, but the offense made up for that when they got the ball back. But granted, they did have trouble stopping the Eagles at times, but Nick Foles has always found a way, and we've all talked about how great Nick Foles is and how a lot of people underestimate what he's capable of. But but at the end of the day, it just comes down to poor clock management and a couple of bad decisions that kind of came back to bite the Bears here. And I'll tell you what, the Eagles winning this game now creates an interesting situation for them. I mean, obviously, they've proven that, not every team suffers from the Super Bowl hangover, and, they're out there trying to defend their championship and hopefully repeat. But here's the thing, if Nick Foles, leads this team to success again, do they give him that brand new contract to come back, and can they keep Carson Wentz, because Carson Wentz can't seem to stay healthy?
Right, exactly. If Nick Foles can lead this team back to and that's the interesting thing about this Philadelphia football team, is because they're actually peaking at the right time. A lot of people, and we talked about Louis Riddick, does a great job on the NFL analyst, but he predicted that the Bears were had the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, and they were peaking at the right time. But it seems like the Philadelphia Eagles are peaking at the right time, and if for some reason Nick Foles and that team can go down there and handle Drew Brees in that Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and he can get this team back to the Super Bowl, there's no question about it. You're gonna have to take care of this guy, because MVP last year, get him back again to defend the title this year, he's deserving of it for sure.
And I'll tell you what, regardless of who won today's game, the winner was going to have to go they're either going to have to go to the Superdome, or they're going to have to go to Southern California and play the Rams. And I had said from the time the regular season ended, and I've said it on this show previously as well, that if the Bears have to go to either the Superdome or the LA Coliseum, that's going to be a tough draw for them. Obviously, not only being on the road, the other team having home field advantage, but you got to remember, when the Rams came to Soldier Field, they weren't playing in the the weather that they're accustomed to playing in. It was cold and it was hard to move the ball, where as opposed to when it's in their stadium, where it's a little bit warmer. Right now, I mean, December in California, sometimes you get rain, sometimes you don't, but it's still it's not going to be 25 degrees and snowing in Los Angeles in January. So I mean, even if the Bears did win this game, they were going to have a tough draw in the next round, but that's going to be the case for any team. And now the Eagles are going to have to go beat pretty much on paper, at least the best team in the NFL. The 14-2 New Orleans Saints, and Drew Brees is eating up all the passing records, and the Saints have an underrated defense that a lot of people underestimate. They've actually made plays when they needed to, and just seeing that just how dangerous the Saints are. I mean, I know the Eagles have a lot of momentum on their side, but now they got to go to the Superdome. They're going to have to deal with the loud crowd noise. They're going to have to play on turf as opposed to grass, and it's going to be a little bit more challenging. And so right now, I mean, yeah, the Eagles are hot at the right time, but they're going to have to take down the baddest team in the game right now if they're going to want to advance the NFC Championship. So either way, regardless of who won this game, it's going to be a tough draw at the next round.
Well, it's going to be a a tough draw for anyone in these playoffs, just because of the parity that's in the league and the elite quarterbacks that are in the playoffs. And you talked about it, the defense that is being played now. These teams are stepping up, and again, unfortunately, the Bears came a little bit too short, giving up the last minute touchdown, Golden Tate into the end zone on 4th and goal, and of course, Parkey missing that field goal. We're pleased to welcome and bring on board to the program as well. He's the marvelous one. He's Dan Marver here in the house at Serenello's. Danny, how you doing?
Oh, I got tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's tears in my eyes. I've been having some eye difficulty to begin with, but
okay.
But I mean, you were right on from the end of the half when they had that questionable catch fumble situation with Gabriel.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
The field goal. And then, did you know that the Bears had 10 men on the field when the touchdown was scored by Philadelphia? To put them ahead. The one that was Goddard. They actually had 10 men on the field. It was another mistake.
Yeah. And that's the one thing. We talked about this last week when Mitchell Trubisky had pretty much 3 consecutive delay of games. 2 of them were called. They had to call a timeout to prevent the third one. And I said it on the show back then that you cannot have these mistakes in Week 17 going into the playoffs. And now to have 10 men on the football field, Vic Fangio he's beside himself.
And it kind of reminds me of what they say sometimes. Some of these wild card teams in baseball, they're playing for their spot, like Philadelphia was, Indianapolis. They were all playing last week to get in.
Right.
So sometimes those teams have that sort of mentality. They play to get in, and they were already in a playoff game.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the way it looked. That's the way it looked to me. They just. It was an even game, really, and the conditions were actually perfect for January.
Yeah, it's funny because they had the game time temperature at 40 degrees, and even into the second half, it was still 38 degrees. I had a buddy, I got to tell it, my buddy Henry, he was telling another buddy of ours, Juan, who was actually at the football game, he got tickets on the 300 level on the 50-yard line. Wow. For $300, so he was there, but he was telling them, hey, you better bundle up and put layers on because it's going to be 0 degrees on the lakefront. I go, what are you talking about, man?
Not today.
38 degrees. But let's get to that one play that happened that was very, very controversial, where the 2:38 mark, right before the first half, the Bears' 5th possession, Anthony Miller with the reception. It is a great catch, but the Eagles' LeBlanc stripped him, and it was called an incomplete pass at the 5-yard line. Anthony Miller came down with the ball, took 3 steps, football steps. LeBlanc gets his left hand in there, and as they're falling to the ground, the ball is knocked loose. It's stripped, and it falls down inside the 5-yard line.
And nobody touches it.
And the official, the official actually goes and pick it up. The official, they ruled it incomplete.
Right.
Of course, they go upstairs and take a look at it.
That's why nobody touched it, because when you get the incomplete, I guess the players don't go for it.
Right, but I forget who made the comment. It was Tony Dungy.
Yeah.
He said, on the defensive side of the ball, you're taught to go pick up the ball regardless if there's a whistle or whatever.
And you see it sometimes when it's ridiculous and they pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, and so for the ball to lay low like it did, and these guys, and there were like 3 Eagles defenders around waving their hands, incomplete. Miller, because he actually came down on top of LeBlanc as the ball was coming out, so it was still a live ball. Now, granted, I know the officials, I mean, they for the most part, they do a pretty decent job, but this one was a difficult one to judge, and they go upstairs, they say incomplete, and then later on it comes down. I don't have the official ruling. I don't have the official ruling of that, but basically they said if the officials call it an incomplete pass, even though they get it wrong, they cannot reward the offensive team with the position where the ball is, and so they have to move it back to the position way back down the field.
The referee expert in the booth later said that in a situation where the ball is fumbled like that and it's ruled incomplete, the offensive team doesn't get the benefit of having caught it.
Right, exactly. Gabe, what did you think of that play?
I'll tell you what, it was one of those calls where, the officials are going to be damned if they do and damned if they don't. That's how it goes, not just during the course of the season, but especially during the playoffs. And, now with instant replay, you kind of get a little more technical with, with some of the decisions that are being made and some of the particular stuff that we didn't, have, long ago, that we do have in the advantage of technology today in the sport of football. So, The officials, they obviously felt that they made the right call there, and that using their best judgment. But again, as we all know, and when it comes to referees, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, that's true. But this one was a very unique play, so I can't really put too much on the officials because this is something. I mean, we've been watching football for how many years, and Marvelous. I don't know about you, but I've never seen anything like that happen.
That's what Collinsworth said too, and he's been watching probably more games than all of us.
Yeah, I mean that's something that you go, wow, that's a head scratcher. But it was pretty interesting. But the Bears were able to. Now keep in mind the next play, Mitchell Trubisky. Well, not the next play. He gets down into the end zone. 13 seconds left before the half. He throws a pass into the end zone, and it's bounced around and almost intercepted again. Mm-hmm. Well, not again because he didn't throw any picks, but it was. There are a couple plays where he kind of like put the ball there that he's lucky that the Philadelphia Eagles secondary didn't capitalize on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I mean, you take your hat off, and Marvelous, you joined us on the program and said, hey, the tears in your eyes, and I can tell you, I was here at Serenello's, and pretty much the entire staff. And I hope I'm not getting them in trouble, but pretty much the entire staff and half of the patrons in the bar area, all eyes were glued on the television monitor. And when the Bears gave up the touchdown to Golden Tate, there were a lot of gasps and moans and ahs, and and then they get the big return by Tariq Cohen, who sets them up, and then the big pass play to get them in. They get them in the field goal range, and then they move a little bit closer, and everyone's glued to the television monitor. And then congratulations to Doug Peterson and that coaching staff, because Parkey makes the field goal, but they call a timeout.
Right.
To do what? To freeze the kicker.
He made the dry run, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that's the thing, because Gabe, if the Eagles don't call that timeout and Parkey goes through his routine, the game's over and the Bears win it. So that's why I said that Matt Nagy and his coaching staff, despite their deficiency or their mismanagement in certain areas of this football game, they still got in position to win this football game. And kudos to the coaching staff and the Eagles for calling a timeout to freeze the kicker, and that's exactly what they did.
It wasn't enough that Parkey hit the goal.
The upright.
The ball bounced.
Yes.
And it could have bounced either way.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Crossbar,
yeah, from my vantage point, it looked like the ball that hit the left upright, and because the officials didn't immediately give a signal, and the ball was coming down, and I wasn't sure if it went inside and crossed over or if it came back onto the field of play.
I think the first camera angle didn't even show it where it dropped to.
Right.
Until they showed it a second.
Exactly. So, wow, but I tell you, this one is a stinger. There's no question about it. It is a stinger. Yeah. And I just thought at the end of the game, pretty much, that the Philadelphia offense and Nick Foles, with his elite experience, they were just able to get to this Bears defense and wear them down as just enough to eke out this victory.
Yeah, obviously this. There's been a lot of playoff losses that have hurt. None will hurt more than losing the Super Bowl to the Indianapolis Colts. But this is going to be something that's going to stick with us for a while, definitely lingering in the next season. But but again, like I said, even though yes, they put him in position to make that kick, at the same time he did, and you add that to the kicks that he missed throughout the season. Again, how do you justify keeping Cody Parkey next season if basically cost you the season in just one kick?
Yeah, I mean, you feel for him, you certainly do, but honestly, you can't keep him. You can't.
Yeah, I mean that's what he's paid. That's what he's paid to do. I mean, how many times with other teams throughout the years, and Jerry, you and I have been watching football for a long time. How many times have we seen kickers, out of a job on Monday morning because they didn't come through on Sunday? And, that's just the way the NFL works.
Yeah, it is. And there have been kickers who've already been fired, released during the season because they've missed quite a few field goals during the regular season. Folks, we're on the TRS60 hotline with Gabe Salgado, our contributor to the Rewind Sports 60, joining us in The Candle Room at Ciaranello's Restaurant Italiano is, of course, the marvelous one, Dan Marver. We're going to take a short time out, catch our breath, and come on right back. If you guys want to jump in, feel free to give us a ring. We're at 847-777-0140, 847-777-0140. More Bears post-game conversation coming up. The Bears fall to the Philadelphia Eagles, eliminated from the playoffs. The final score 16-15 over at Soldier Field. You've got the Rewind Sports 60.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Bucks! Woo!
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in. If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago.
If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rewind Sports 60. It's yours truly, Jerry Riles. We're broadcasting from Ciaranello's. It's a Bears playoff post-game podcast from Ciaranello's, the Candle Room. Bears fall to the Philadelphia Eagles and are eliminated. Final score 16-15. The Philadelphia Eagles move on to take on in the divisional series against the
Saints.
Drew Brees and New Orleans Saints down in New Orleans. And we're pleased to be joined on the hotline by our contributor, TRS60 style. It is Gabe Salgado. And we're also joined by the one, the only, he's Kelly Lee Williams! Marvelous Marver, Dan Marver in the house. Kelly, what's up, man? How are you?
Dude. Oh boy. You know what? I'm glad I'm not in Chicago. I could have driven to Chicago. I was going to go hang out. I was going to go, yeah, this is going to be a great night. But Cody Parkey he better be out of town now. He better be snuck out of the damn place. And we better never see his face in Chicago or anywhere near Illinois ever again. Goodbye, Cody Parkey. Good riddance.
Kelly, tell us how you really feel.
At least he has a new enemy.
That's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. These men fought. They fought hard against this team. They didn't know how hard it was going to be in a playoff game. They found out. They got hit in the mouth. They got hit in the mouth all game. When they finally got their act together and got a little thing going on, this guy makes it all moot. He makes it all obsolete. Cody Parkey should never pick in a dang NFL game again. Sorry. That's how I feel.
Kelly Lee Williams, but Kelly, he's responsible for the Bears going into the locker room 6-3 at halftime.
Yeah, but he should have won the game, and he did not. He hit the dang field goals when the pressure wasn't on. When the pressure was on, after he made it, he missed. After he made it, he missed. That is the sign of a loser. That right there. Sorry, he's got to go, and we should never see him again, ever.
Siberia.
Not even Siberia, dude. North Korea. Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un won't hurt with open arms.
Gabe, your reaction to Kelly Lee Williams. And you know, I got to say, our technical director, Jason Zenner, texted me, and I can't use the exact words that he described in the text, but it was similar to his frustration, the same as Kelly has just illustrated here. He's frustrated with Parkey as well.
So not only does Kelly want the Bears to cut him loose, he wants to send Cody Parkey into exile. Yes, I do.
Oh, my God. But Kelly, you know, Gabe mentioned early in the broadcast that, you know, you might be able to point the finger somewhat at Matt Nagy and his mismanagement at certain parts of this football game. You know, we're calling timeouts or using timeouts when he had other options for this football team. That maybe he didn't coach a complete game himself, and part of the blame goes to Matt Nagy as well. What are your thoughts?
Cody Parkey gets the blame for missing that kick, but Matt Nagy gets the blame. But Matt Nagy gets the blame completely. It's his fault they lost that game. He was way too conservative in the first two quarters. They should have been doing what they were doing against every other team during the regular season. He tightened up. There was something different about this game and he felt like there was something different. When he shouldn't have done that. He should have played this game like he played every other game. He played this conservatively. He played the first half conservatively, and it cost him. It cost him big time. They should have done something off those two turnovers. They should have been up at least by a touchdown going into the half. That didn't happen, and the Eagles became the Eagles. Nick Foles pulled it out, and I completely forgot that the Eagles had Golden Tate on that team. Golden Tate was the difference. Golden Tate is always the difference when it comes to games like this. And I forgot about him. And that was the difference. And now the Bears have got to suffer. They've got to say, hey, we should have been there. But Cody Parkey will never be another Chicago Bear again, and that makes me feel good.
but again, and you've given some credit to the Philadelphia Eagles and their coaching staff, because yeah, they used Golden Tate. He came up with a couple key catches. One, I think, in the first half to keep a drive going, and of course the touchdown at the end of the game on 4th and goal. That was incredible. But he was definitely the go-to guy. But you got to credit, in my opinion, you have to credit the coaching of Doug Peterson and this Eagles offense, because I truly believe they were able to work that defense, and Nick Foles was so he was so precise. He stayed in the pocket as long as he had to, found his open receivers to continue to move the ball down the football field. And again, in the last minutes of the football game, that defense, Khalil Mack, as talented as he is, you saw it. He was gasping. He was sucking up wind. He was breathing heavily. That defense, they had to work their asses off against this Philadelphia Eagles football team. And to me, that was great game planning, and that was enough. That was enough to get that 4th down touchdown reception to Golden Tate.
They had to work their asses off against that team because the offense was inept, it was weak, and it was Matt Nagy's fault. He did not do any of that play calling that he was doing in the last 16 freaking games. And why? I believe he thought Trey Burton was such a difference maker that he did not go to the game plan that he wanted to go to. I think he went to another game plan after Trey Burton reported injured, and that was the problem.
And you know what? And you know what? And Gabe, you jump in on this as well. That's a good point, because with Trey out, Shaheen became the number 1 tight end in the football game. And although he had a couple catches there, I think Trey Burton, he gets the run after catch. He gets the rack. He gets the run after catch. He's going to catch that football, and he's going to advance the ball down the field. There was one play, and I think this was in the second quarter as well, where Shaheen he got the reception, and the Bears was maybe like 3rd and 11, I think it was. He made the reception, and LeBlanc, I think, came up with a great hit on him and upended him. And he was 4 yards short of getting the first down to keep the drive going. The Bears ended up having the punt. I think if Trey Burton is out there and makes that reception, I think he eludes that tackle, advances the ball, gets the first down, and keep that offense moving. So I think you make a very valid point when you put that out there. Gabe, what do you think?
You know, I'll tell you what. You know, just like you said, Adam Shaheen was put in there. He was called upon to try to make some things happen, but let's not forget, he's also got inexperience working against him as well, because, he was injured half of this year, and last year he hardly saw the field, even though he was on the roster and in the uniform. John Fox hardly used him. We were led to believe that Adam Shaheen could be similar to a Trey Burton in terms of athleticism, despite, his large frame, but obviously we didn't get any of that, and, it's just unfortunate. But here's another thing that we haven't really talked about yet. The Eagles' offensive line held Khalil Mack to 0 sacks. Imagine how much of a difference that could have made if Mack had managed to get a sack or 2 during the course of the game. They did a pretty good job of keeping him from causing any damage.
Yeah, that's the thing. And again, you give them credit, because that offensive line for the Eagles, they did an excellent job. And there were a couple times that Khalil Mack got very close to Nick Foles, swatting at his arm. But Nick, again, being patient and having the experience that he has, especially in postseason, was able to get the ball, release the ball just in the nick of time before Khalil Mack or Akeem Hicks or any of those guys could really get to him. So you're right. Kudos to the offensive line as far as the Philadelphia Eagles are concerned. Marvelous, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking here. Floyd had the only sack, and
Yes.
the running game was non-existent on both ends. And it's Philadelphia. I see you're through to 7 different receivers. So I mean, they really had the Bears, guessing on them. And they had McManus in the game, who doesn't usually play. So there are a lot of different factors going in there. But again, it was a game that could have been won either way. It was just unfortunate that it ended the way it did.
Well, here's the deal, guys. We haven't touched on this either as well. Thank you for that, Marvelous. Here's the deal. Both of these guys, Doug Peterson and, of course, Matt Nagy, they come from the Andy Reid coaching tree from Kansas City. And they had a graphic of how these guys climbed up the ladder to get to their current position of head coaches for their respective teams. The interesting thing about it is Doug wanted Matt Nagy as his offensive coordinator a couple seasons ago to take him from Andy Reid, and Andy Reid told him, no, you can't have this guy. He's going to stay with me. So imagine that right then and there. But they made the comparison between these two guys and said they are almost similar in style. They're like the best of friends. Their wives were best friends. Their kids were best friends. They know each other backwards and forwards. So, Kelly, when you say that Matt Nagy should have stuck to his game plan like he did, all 16 games during the regular season, he couldn't, because his buddy was across on the other side of the field and knows the back of his hand. He knows him. So Matt Nagy had to kind of switch things up because Doug Peterson knew pretty much what this guy was all about.
And vice versa.
Exactly, exactly.
That is absolutely correct, and that was the problem. That affected everything. Matt Nagy outthought himself. He was not confident in this game with Doug Peterson. He should have been confident in this game because it was one in 12 games in the regular season, and to be the first rookie head coach to do so. He outthought himself because he went up against his old friend. That was a problem. And being a rookie head coach, that has an overall effect. That, losing Trey Burton, Mitchell Trubisky coming up blame because there was no more run pass option when Mitchell Trubisky started limping because he could not run the way he was used to running. That had something to do with the offense too. But overall, it's Matt Nagy, and it all falls on Matt Nagy. He gets the credit when the wins. He gets the blame on this loss.
Well, you know what? And I want to hear what you guys have to say, but I'm going to tell you. You know, when the dust settled, and it has settled, I think the best team won. And again, the reason I say that, one, of course, they're the defending Super Bowl champions, but they're going up against the Super Bowl champion MVP quarterback in Nick Foles. And at the end of the day, I believe Nick Foles made the difference in this football game. Because, again, both teams are almost – they seem to be almost mirror image of each other. Where defensively, they put the pressure on Trubisky and shut down the running game as best they could for the Bears, and vice versa. Like Marvelous said, the Bears, they tried to get to Nick Foles, and I forgot about that. Leonard Floyd gets that sack, but they put pressure on Nick Foles the entire game. But because of his experience, because he's played in the big game under the bright lights, and of course, you talked about it, he had some golden hands and golden tape. That to me, made the difference in this football game. Again, 16-15, and the Bears still had an opportunity to win it. Unfortunately, Parkey misses the field goal. Gabe, your thoughts?
You know, again, and we're all going to sound like a broken record by the time this is all said and done. You know, like I said, the Bears probably shouldn't have been in that situation where Parkey had to kick with the game on the line. But at the same time, you know, give the Eagles credit. You know, Nick Foles, you know, he's an underrated and underappreciated quarterback, and you know, he's definitely due to make some big money in the offseason with his new contract. Whether that's what the Eagles or another team remains to be seen. But again, you know, also, you know, again, the Eagles, like I said, they did a pretty good job of, you know, keeping Khalil Mack from being a factor. You know, their offense stepped up, and you know, I'm curious to see how it works out for them when they got to go to the Superdome next week.
Kelly?
Hey, brother, I gotta disagree with you for 1 second because the Bears are in the game. The Bears are favored. The Bears were the best team in this game. The Bears did not play like the best team in this game because Matt Nagy outthought himself. Matt Nagy outthought himself against his old friend. He outthought himself when he lost his best tight end, and he outthought himself when his starting quarterback got hurt. Those are the reasons the Bears lost this game. Oh, and one more thing. Cody Parkey sucks. He sucks. He sucks big time. I hate Cody Parkey. Cody Parkey can bite my behind. Hate him. Hey. Get out of my town, Cody Parkey. That is all. Now, just imagine what Kelly would be saying if Chase Daniel had played.
Oh,
Hey, don't do that.
No. I mean, you know what? Yeah. No, honestly, I mean, Gabe is right because when Mitchell Trubisky rolled out to the left and tried to get the first down, but he ran out of bounds, he came up lane and he started limping, and they took him under the tent to you know, evaluate him. That's exactly what I thought. I go, because I thought he pulled a hamstring. I thought he pulled a hamstring, and I was like, It would have been a field day, Kelly, had your guy gotten in there. The Eagles would have been salivating.
Yes, but it didn't happen. And you know what? The Bears had a great season. I had a wonderful time watching them. I had a wonderful time talking about them. But it's over, and it sucks. But I'm so happy. I'm very happy that I was part of watching this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I asked Gabe, what do you think, Kelly, the Bears need to do during the offseason? The number one thing is to find a kicker. That's the number one thing. But is there anything else you think this football team needs to do? And whatever they do during the offseason, can they make it back to the playoffs? They were from worst to first in 1 year under Matt Nagy, can they start a trend and return to the playoffs?
They can absolutely start a trend. They can absolutely return to the playoffs. Of course, the kicking game has to be addressed, but they also have to address the tight ends. They saw that their tight ends are a weakness now. If Trey Burton goes down, their tight ends are terrible. Adam Shaheen has no flexibility, no mobility whatsoever. He was a big lumbering goof out there, and they need to get to another versatile tight end in case Trey Burton goes down, because now we see that's a maybe a problem, and a better backup quarterback. We cannot have this happen again. We cannot have Chase Daniel be any kind of hope for us. We need a better backup quarterback. Other than that, I like where this team is going. I like the coaching on the offensive and defensive sides. Special teams even look good, except for Cody Parkey, that son of a. But yes, we're going to make the playoffs next.
So, gentlemen, Marvelous, what do you think?
Well, I think they could stand some more depth. I mean, maybe they'll get a draft pick or make a trade. I think they could stand a little bit more depth in some of the lineman positions. You know, just to shake things up there a little bit. Maybe they need some more depth. But one other interesting thing that you guys didn't mention, you remember the Bears' 2-point conversion attempt? Yeah. Mack was in the game.
Yeah, exactly. He was. And he actually rolled out in motion to the left.
I thought he might get it.
When he flared out to the left in motion, and I thought too. I thought they were going to throw it out to him and just have him barrel it in. They didn't do that, and
they were trying to use him as a decoy, and that failed miserably. The Eagles sniffed that out right away.
Well, Guess what? If they make those 2 points, it's a different game.
That's true. It is a different game.
They shouldn't have gone for that 2-point conversion in the first place. I mean, obviously, it kind of makes you wonder, how much faith, Nagy had in Cody Parkey to begin with if they didn't even bring him in to kick a simple extra point. They still had the lead.
Yeah, they were 17-10.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that was a true testament that the lack of faith that Nagy has in Cody Parkey. Kelly may be right. Matt Nagy just outthought himself. He just outthought himself. You don't have to go for a 2-point conversion at that time. But Matt Nagy, that's the type of trickster that he is. He wants to be the Houdini and pull something out of his bag of tricks. And it didn't happen this time. It didn't work in his favor. So I don't know if it's so much that he didn't have the – because Parkey, Parkey – he was the reason they were winning going into the locker room because of his 26-yarder and a 26-yard and 34-yard field goal in the first half.
It's probably too early in the fourth quarter, but it's 15-10, and he's thinking, okay, I want to be up by 7 instead of 6. That was the thinking, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it was as well. But hey, guys. Real quick, and we're broadcasting from Serenello's Restaurante Italiano here in the heart of Wheeling. If you want to jump in, give us a call, 847-777-0140, 847-777-0140. Kelly Lee Williams, Gabe Salgado on our TRS60 hotline here in the Candle Room at Serenello's. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, the Marvelous One, Dan Marver. Can we say that the Philadelphia Eagles showed other teams how to scheme against the Bears defense now? Moving forward? Anyone?
I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about Cody. I'm still thinking about Cody Parkey, bro. That guy, he's got me all twisted, bro. He's got me mad.
Gabe, what do you think? Do you think that this kind of like exposed the Bears defense and show, hey, if you just continue to run at them and your clock management and the quarterback's time release, you can get to these guys in the fourth quarter and wear them down and move the ball down your offense down the football field. Do you think that the Eagles were able to kind of like expose the weaknesses of this Bears defense to capitalize and get that final touchdown to win it?
I don't think they necessarily exposed them, but what they did expose is how reliant the Bears can be on Khalil Mack and how reliant they've been on him for most of the season. Well, let's also say that the freaking defense was tired, guys. The offense gave them nothing.
That's my point.
Nothing.
That's my point.
No time.
That's my point. To beat the Bears defense is to keep them on that football field and to wear them down, grind until they're, again, Khalil Mack, they showed a close-up of him. He was sucking up wind on that last drive. You can see the extreme. He was tired. He was gassed.
Jerry, that if you would do that with any defense. Any defense, not just the Bears. If that happens, yes, that's going to be a bad thing. The offense was the net. I mean, that's it, man. The offense did not help this defense. It wasn't just about Khalil Mack. It was about Nick Foles. Nick Foles and the offense kept the defense offense get off balance pretty much the entire first half. Foles did. I mean, yeah. After the first sack, how many times did Foles get hit? Not many.
Nope.
He didn't touch it that much.
Yep.
And that's the reason he got the passes out. He got him out quickly, and I guess the team forgot about Golden Tate. They focused on Alshon Jeffrey so much they forgot about Golden Tate. And the fact, and the 2 times they did forget about him, that's why the Bears are.
Yeah, well, that one big reception that Golden Tate had to move the Eagles down the football field, he got clobbered on. He's in the middle of the field, and he got laid out. But he's a tough competitor, and he's an experienced guy. So that's why I think the Bears maybe forgot about him late in the football game, because they actually put a lick on the guy, and he didn't play the type of game that Golden Tate, we were used to Golden Tate playing, but he played at the right time when they needed it.
And the go-ahead touchdown was on 4th down. It was such a clutch play.
Right. I mean, you got to give credit to Nick Foles and Golden Tate both, because they placed the ball. Nick Foles placed the ball where he had to place the ball. Golden Tate, being the sure hands that he's been all his career, it was just in the right place at the right spot. And the Bears just simply, and you talked about it being gas, they just didn't have enough in the tank to either get the Foles or prevent the play from happening with Golden Tate. And again, that made the difference right then and there. But again, I say, hey, listen, kudos to that coaching staff, because Cody Parkey, I'm sorry, Kelly, he made the field goal, but they called a timeout to freeze the kicker, and it got in his head. Whatever is in his head, I don't know what it is, but whatever is in Cody Parkey's head, dude, he's got to wake up with nightmares to see a yellow upright goalpost staring him in the face, because it's like I've never seen a kicker. You may miss wide left, you may miss wide right, you may miss a little bit short, but this guy is hitting the upright 5 times this season. Unbelievable.
I know what he was thinking, Jerry.
What?
He was thinking, I need to get the heck out of Chicago fast.
Hey, wait, let me ask you this question, and we'll take a quick time out real quick. Which is worse? I'm going to ask you, Kelly. You sitting down?
Yes.
Which one is worse? Cody Parkey missing the field goal to eliminate the Bears from playoffs, or the Bartman ball at Wrigley? which guy has to get out of town?
Not even close. You know what? No, it's not even close, guys. You know why? It's Parkey. He made it. What? He made the dang field goal, okay? He made it before the timeout was called. And all he had to do was do the exact same thing that he did when he made it, and we're talking about a Bears victory. Bartman had absolutely nothing to do with the game. Moise Alou, that 5'6" guy, he was never going to catch the ball anyway, okay? That was a foul ball. Alex Gonzalez was the reason the Cubs lost that game, not Steve Bartman. But Cody Parkey, he should have made that kick. We should be talking about a Bears victory, and I should be drinking this, what is it called?
PBR.
Cocoa nuts. No, cocoa nuts. I bought cocoa nuts. I went to this place that's
Take it easy. Hey, this is a family show. Take it easy.
Dude, it's a serious thing. Strawberry colada. It's called coconut, Miami Vice. When I get upset when Cody Parkey loses his team name the game, I go get cocoa nuts and make myself feel better.
He's Kelly Lee Williams on our TRS60 hotline along with Gabe Salgado. Fellas, can you guys hang out a little bit longer?
Hey, I actually have to go beat up somebody because I'm extremely fast.
No violence. No violence.
I'm hanging out with my friend Pappy, man. I haven't seen this guy in 30 years. I mean, because he just got out of prison, and it's a beautiful thing to see. No, I'm kidding. He's cool. But no, the guy I haven't seen in 30 years, we're hanging out. But thank you, guys. Man, we're awesome. But we're not awesome today. This is not awesome. But I will be talking to you guys very soon.
Kelly Lee Williams, thank you, brother. Have a good evening. We'll talk to you, and we'll get you back out here bright and early next week.
Kelly, don't you do anything foolish now. I know you're depressed.
He's cuckoo for coconuts.
No, not depressed. Angry. I'm very angry. I'm going to be throwing things at Cody Parkey's face for the rest of the night.
Oh, no.
Bear down, Chicago Bears.
I'll get you his address.
Well, we know what late Christmas gift to get you.
Now here's where your Christianity comes into play.
There you go. Kelly Lee Williams, we'll talk to you. Gabe, you still good?
Yes, Yes, I'm still here.
Sounds good. We'll come on right back. Marty-B, the man on the street, will be joining us, and more Bear conversation. You want to jump in? 847-777-0140, 847-777-0140. You got the rewind.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Bucks! Woo!
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
This portion of the Rewind Sports 60 broadcasting from Serenello's Restaurante in Wheeling is sponsored by the Midwest Pro Sound and Lighting Nerd Audio Synth Shop in Chicago. They are friends of the program. From rentals to studios to lessons, repairs, and installations, Midwest Pro Sound and Lighting Nerd Audio Synth Shop in Chicago is your one-stop destination. Midwest Pro Sound and Lighting Nerd Audio Synth Shop in Chicago is located at 1613 West Belmont Avenue. Feel free to drop by Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. or give them a call at 773-975-4250 to say hello. And remember, tell them the Rewind Sports 60 sent you.
This portion of the Rewind Sports 60 broadcasting from Serenello's Restaurante is brought to you by the Liquor Barn. They are friends of the program. From beers to spirits and champagne, the Liquor Barn is your libation destination for parties, banquets, weddings, and more. And don't forget to mark your calendars for the annual Wine Fest this fall. The Liquor Barn is located on the corner of Dundee and Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling, 287 East Dundee Road, and their Niles location is 8170 West Golf Road. Feel free to drop by and say hello, and always remember to drink responsibly.
Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago. Welcome back, everyone, to Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, broadcasting from Serenello's Restaurante Italiano. Programming note, ladies and gentlemen, every Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m., we're on Comcast Access, both in Lake County and Cook County, the northern suburbs of the greatest city in the world, that, of course, Chicago. In Lake County, Channel 17, catch us on Wednesday at 7 p.m., Channel 17. And if you're in Cook County, the northern suburbs, you can catch us on Channel 19 and Channel 35, Channel 19 and 35. And coming soon to a radio near you, folks. The Rewind Sports 60 on the radio, coming real soon. Check out our website. Go to therewindsports60.com. THE rewindsports60.com. We'll keep you posted as far as our move back to radio here in 2019. If you're just joining in, this is our Rewind Sports 60 Bears playoff post-game podcast. Our post-game podcast, the Bears eliminated from the playoffs. The final score 16-15 at the hands of Nick Foles and the Philadelphia Eagles over on the lakefront. Congratulations to the Bears finishing up the 2018-2019 season with the 12-5 slate. The Eagles head down to New Orleans to take on Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome next week. as the playoffs continue to roll. Joining us on our TRS60 hotline is Gabe Salgado, our contributor, outstanding sports analyst, reporter here in the Chicagoland area, joining us as much as he possibly can. Love to get him every week, but Gabe is a very, very busy man, and we're happy to have him on our TRS60 hotline. Here in the Candle Room, the second floor of Serenello's, we got the marvelous one, Dan Marver. And we welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. You love him. He's the best. He's the man. He's over here. He's in the streets. He's down there. He's around there. He's behind this. He's over there. He's the man on the street. He's Marty-B. What's up, Marty?
Hey! And he's also in the middle of the pack. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Pardon the foggy voice here. A little laryngitis hits me once in a while, and but I'm just delighted to be here with Jerry and Dan, and as we suffer through a very disappointing, true, but so much optimism for future seasons and the marvelous young head coach that we have at the helm of the Chicago Bears, and I'm all excited already about next season, but I'm surely looking forward to the rest of these playoffs as they unfold.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. The Indianapolis Colts, they advance and move forward. A lot of people, it's interesting how some of these teams are in the playoffs, and you're thinking, man, they don't really even have a chance. I mean, we know the Philadelphia Eagles were kind of struggling as well. The Indianapolis Colts were struggling. The Houston Texans, who were eliminated, they were having an up and down situation. We know what New England and Tom Brady were going through. So there were teams who are currently in the playoffs that at one particular point in time, you're thinking, wow, the tide has turned and it's not going to happen.
The Colts are a perfect example.
Exactly.
And one other thing, we're talking about the Bears next year. I think because they finished first, they have the great schedule now where they'll probably play all the first place teams, won't they? Rams, Saints, Cowboys. So that's going to be one additional challenge.
Yeah, the Cowboys also. I mean, they were a team that no one expected. They were up and down, and they were saying, is Dak Prescott, is he the future? Can he quarterback this football team? And, Jason Garrett, is he going to remain the coach? Jerry Jones needs to get rid of him. And you see what, they were able to do. So the playoffs, and that's the one thing I was trying to convey to Kelly, is the difference in this Bear football game. I think both defenses played pretty well. I thought it was a not great, but it was a very good competitive football game. Especially, again, with the Bears going into the locker room with a 6-3 victory. Both defenses came out to play. I think the deciding factor in this game was the experience of Nick Foles. I think if you get a lesser experienced quarterback calling signals for this Eagles team, I think the Bears and Khalil Mack get to him. I think they do. I think they get to him. But because of his experience, because of his poise, and the fact that he knows how to move an offense, I think he was the deciding factor in this football game. Unfortunately, the Bears, they came up short.
Yes, we did. We did.
Now, Marty-B, you said you had an opportunity during the break. You said you had an opportunity to listen to the Matt Nagy press conference. What did the coach have to say?
Oh, he covered all the bases, and he fielded some very, very difficult questions, Dan and Jerry. But the gist of the press conference was how proud he is of this team and how far they've come, how far they have yet to go. That we've just kind of scratched the surface. And he touched on a few of the different areas, primarily the quarterback situation. He's very, very proud of Mitch. He indicated that Chicago should be so proud. We got a tough, hard-nosed kid that's just going to get better and better and better.
What were some of the tough questions that were asked of him?
Well, primarily, some of the game time situations, some of the plays that were called. They covered a lot of those, and I don't remember specifically the different situations that were brought up, but it really pertained to a little bit of why Howard didn't run more. Yeah, they brought that up.
Okay.
Ran very effectively early, and then they kind of got away from it.
Right.
Why does he always continue to get away from the running game when it's seemingly so successful?
Right.
Yeah.
That's something that came up that I thought about as well, because Jordan Howard, from September to November, he was averaging 3.3 yards per carry. The month of November, the guy was averaging 5.6 yards per carry. So absolutely, you wonder, with that type of success, and he had some success in this football game, why not stick with him? Why not just continue to pound and pound and pound that Philadelphia Eagles defense by using your running game, which means you got the opportunity to open up the field a little bit more with your receivers. So, I mean, that's a very good question. Gabe,
and it kept being brought up again and again, Jerry.
Sure.
But the gist of it was, again, Coach Nagy seemed to think it, my gosh, they're not exceptionally terrific. Their one weak point, which we really decided it was the best way to us approach it, was their defensive backfield and the passing game. We thought that is where we would have ultimately our best success.
Right.
And not as much success, even though we had some success early, we thought that success in the running game would subside as the game went on.
Okay, that's
that
interesting.
Was the thinking.
It's interesting. But the unfortunate thing is, and again, we talked about the relationship that he has, Matt Nagy, with Doug Peterson of the Philadelphia Eagles, how close they are just as friends, but how like-minded they are as well. And I'm sure Doug was telling his players, hey, this is what Matt is going to do, or this is what he's going to think about. We need to prepare for that. Those guys in the secondary for the Philadelphia Eagles, they came to play. LeBlanc, he came to play. Sullivan, they came to play. Those guys were flying all over the place. They were making some pretty good football plays.
And you know what amazes me about the Eagles? I've seen them play a few times this year, but I was never aware until today. Maybe it's because they all of a sudden got real healthy or more rested or whatever. But the speed of those linebackers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I forget
man.
which linebacker, but he put a crack on Tariq Cohen. Tariq Cohen, I think maybe Tariq's first or second carry of the game, he rolled out to the left, and you know how Tariq does what he does. He jiggles and wiggles and jitter and all that, and the linebacker cracked him. It was a great tackle, and I was like, whoa, and I thought Tariq Cohen would come up a little bit, limpy, but he was okay. But yeah, you're right. Those linebackers for the Philadelphia Eagles were flying around, and they were putting some helmets on some people.
Absolutely, and boy, we weren't turning the corner on some long runs like we usually do. Oh, we had a few breakaways, but for the most part, boy, they were keeping us, those defensive ends and those inside linebackers. They were really keeping things kind of tight for us.
Yeah, we could not get around the perimeter the way we normally can, and again, it goes back to that coaching. For the Philadelphia Eagles, and they did what they came to do. They came to, and you know what? There was a point in time when the Bears, the fans at Soldier Field, I thought when the tide started to turn and the fans became boisterous, that shows you the type of football team the Philadelphia Eagles are, because they didn't feel the pressure. They didn't succumb to the fans at Soldier Field like other teams have. I mean, the Bears with a 7-1 slate at home during a regular season, the fans did everything I thought they were supposed to do by supporting this team, cheering this team on, and getting as loud as they possibly can. And Nick Foles and the Philadelphia Eagles, they didn't even bat an eye. They kept their composure, and they kept playing football. So they were just a better football team at the end of the day.
Yeah, a more seasoned, a more polished, a more relaxed team on the whole. You could just kind of see it. They just never faltered, even when it was, hey, fourth down, last play of the game, the season on the line.
Unbelievable.
And who gets open? But Golden Tate.
It's
Golden Tate.
It's unbelievable. I mean, everyone here, I don't know if you heard, but everyone here at Ciarinello's, we're glued to the television monitors in the bar area, and it's 4th and goal, and I mean, you can hear a pin drop because the air inside this place, it was unbelievable. And of course, when Nick Foles rolls out, fires right, Golden Tate in the end zone at the goal line, makes the reception. Oh man, it was it was not pleasant inside this place.
No, it was. I just had a feeling that, because boy, we stopped the running game and inside the 2-3 yard line. We stopped it cold.
Yeah.
But Golden Tate is Golden Tate, and that, like they said, that made that trade all worthwhile. Just that one catch.
Yeah, exactly. He came up with the big catch.
And Alshon Jeffrey, you can't say enough about him. Oh, that one play, I don't know if he could have had that. They were saying that on the broadcast that Nick Foles was proud of that one read because, wow, it's the one time that Alshon probably did not jump to the full capacity of his length.
Yeah.
But, hey, got a couple of basketball players there, Nick Foles and Alshon Jeffrey. They were both outstanding basketball players.
Yeah, I remember a little bit about Alshon Jeffrey, not so much Nick Foles, though. Yeah.
Nick Foles is, kind of an unsung hero, real team player in basketball.
Right.
A lot of people have said that. Had Alshon Jeffrey gone the other route, probably could have played in the NBA.
Oh, he certainly could have.
Yeah.
He certainly could have.
Easily. Another thing we brought out today, too, was the fact that with experience, Mitch Trubinsky is going to be able to be very effective at that second and third read. Right now, he's good on the first read, but gets a little lost after that.
Right.
But during the press conference, Coach Nagy brought out the fact you have no idea, reporters, how much we threw at this kid when we first came in last year. He had to learn so much, and he has progressed beautifully. And Chicago is going to be really proud that he is our quarterback to lead us into the future.
Well, I hope he's right. And Gabe, I want you to chime in as well. I hope you're right. And Chris Collinsworth during the broadcast said that's how you get to Mitchell Trubisky. If you could get him off of his number one receiver or number one target and have him go through the progressions, you can get to him because he's not comfortable doing that. He'll lock in, and they pay attention to his eyes. He'll lock in to one particular receiver, and if you can get to him or get to that receiver to force Mitchell Trubisky to look someplace else, you got him. You got him. So I mean, it's a very valid point, Gabe.
Like I said, at the end of the day, it all boils down to getting the game experience under the belt of a lot of these players. Not only are them young and still relatively new to the league, but a lot of them also have played in the playoffs before. So it's going to come down to just getting that experience and learning how to deal with those situations. But to what you said at the top of the segment, Jerry, about some of the other teams in the playoffs. If I'm the entire NFL, I am scared of the Indianapolis Colts because the way that they snagged that last playoff spot literally at the 11th hour, and the way that they just dominated the Houston Texans yesterday, a team that they struggled against during the regular season, the team that won the AFC South, the division that they play in, and just to see, the Colts go into their building and dominate them the way they did, that just tells me that the Colts are ready to play with anybody. I don't think they're going to be able to do the same thing against the Kansas City Chiefs next week, but they're definitely going to give them a competitive game.
Yeah, it should be.
Andrew Luck is healthy. The offensive line is better. Their defense has improved, and I definitely think that the Colts are going to make some noise before it's all said and done.
You know what? I honestly think that pretty much all these teams, whether it's the AFC or the NFC, to me, it's up for grabs. Think about this. The game before the Bear game, the Baltimore Ravens and the Chargers. I'm sure you guys, if you had a chance to watch it, you thought that game was over. You thought it was over. Next thing I know,
and Lamar Jackson almost single-handedly led that comeback.
He was terrible, but he was terrible. He was terrible, and everyone's calling. So they were like, hey, get Flacco in here. Get him in here. The fans were begging for Flacco to come in. They were begging. They said the fourth quarter, get him in here. I thought it was over. Lamar Jackson was horrible. Next thing I know, they come back and I'm like, are you kidding me? So these games, whether it's the NFC or the AFC, man, it's hard to pick them. It really is hard to pick them because it could go either way.
The road team won every game except Dallas.
Yeah.
And that could have been Seattle too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I think we can all be in agreement that Lamar Jackson became a man today. That is for sure.
Well, you know what? I think that's one reason why John Harbaugh didn't pull him. I mean, the announcers were saying you got to make a change if you want to win this football game. The fans were going nuts. They were going crazy. I felt for the fans, and I said to the television, I'm like, you know what, John, you got to do it for the. It's about the team. It's not about Lamar Jackson now. You're talking about the playoffs. If you don't win, you go home, and you got to make a move. You got to make a move. But I think John Harbaugh stayed with this guy on purpose because he's like, this is our future. And this guy has a unique dynamic, and he's got to get, like Mitchell Trubisky, he's got to get the experience. And he's got to learn how to lose in the playoffs before he can win to the playoffs because he's going to be going to the playoffs quite often in his career.
Well, Harbaugh loves this kid.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the other thing going against every player when they come out of college. I mean there is no formal playoff in college football. Yeah, you have the bowl games, and now you found a way to incorporate a somewhat playoff system in the bowl game in the current system. But there is no playoff games. You just have your one game at the end of the season. So there really is you don't have really to have that experience coming into the league. And, Lamar Jackson played in a couple bowl games at Louisville. And, I think maybe Trubisky might have played in one. I could be wrong about that. Correct me if I am. And, but again, there's no formal playoff in, college football that lasts, anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks. That's going to help you, learn that big game experience. This is really a lot of these guys just, getting tasting this for the first time.
No, that's absolutely right. What else do you have, Marty B?
Yes. Do we need to stay on football? Can I?
No, you can switch because we're running short.
Okay, very, very good. Yeah, a couple things I would like to say. Of course, we all know that, again, this weekend, and Dave Weber, when I spoke to Coach Weber, our wonderful coach from Glenbrook North, was surprised how many basketball games, high school games, were played Friday night. I couldn't believe it. We were talking, gee, did the schools get back in session early, or what was the case? Do you have any input on that, Dan?
Well, I think that a lot of it is because they're trying to fit the conference games and there's certain conferences within the schedule so that they can play, spread them out over the various weeks. But there was only one game in the Central Suburban that was now Weston Evanston.
Yeah, Evanston knocked off
It has to
Miles,
do with, the schools aren't open. It's just a matter of how they choose to schedule it, because that game could have been played in December, it could have been played Tuesday. I mean, there's no way to know for sure.
Yeah, you're very, very correct. But I do know we'll sure be swinging back into action this weekend.
Yeah.
One of the real big stories, of course, how many of us can ever remember at this point in the season, Simeon has 7 losses? Oh my God!
How many of them
really?
were out of state? Most of them.
Probably most of them out of state.
They've been playing a lot of out of state teams.
Oh, well, that explains it.
And these teams, a couple players I would like to talk about just briefly. Wow, with the Geneva Vikings, they are 14-0 right now. Of course, they won the tournament over there at Wheeling during the Holiday Tournament. But they've got a player that is really exciting to watch, Jack McDonald. Wow, he's a player.
They played Friday. They played Wheaton.
Actually, they played
Wheaton North.
Yeah, Wheaton. Yeah, one of the Wheaton teams. Yeah. And they knocked them off. A player that I want to talk about just for a second here is Adam Miller of Morgan Park. He's only a junior. He is being recruited by just about all the Division I schools across the country, notably Illinois and Kansas. And he had he had a record-breaking performance at the Big Dipper, one of the oldest tournaments around. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, Rick South, yeah.
At the Big Dipper, one game he had 48 points, but for the 4-game total, 131 points at the Big Dipper tournament.
That's a major tournament.
Well, we used to be even more major.
Yeah.
It's really been not as major, honestly. As
it's still a big,
So the opponents were not, and the whole big name opponents, honestly.
Yeah, but wow, what a performance. And his coach, I got a kick out of Nick Irvin, his coach, who was quite a player himself.
The former Illini player?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Nick Irvin?
Nick Irvin.
I'm not sure.
I don't think so, Jerry. But I know what you're referring to. But he was kind of talking about his players. Oh, he had a great tournament. I'm glad he broke some of my old records. But he said, back in my day, I wasn't bad either.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of Nick.
No, I think Nick Irvin's a former. He played for that Flying Illini team. I thought he was on that roster.
There was Irvin his last name though?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
can you check that out, Marvelous?
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. I didn't get a chance to watch this. Maybe I'll catch it on a replay at some point. But that Under Armour Prep All-Star football game, and one young man that I followed this year from Batavia, a linebacker. Oh my God, he's unbelievable. Being very highly recruited. Michael Jancy Jr. He had a pick 6, played great, and I'm sure he's going to end up at a top college somewhere. And last but not least, when it comes to prep sports, I want to mention the name of Tadriana Hurd. She is an outstanding young girls basketball player with the Argo Argonauts.
Argo Argonauts.
Yep, and she led her team to the championship at the Riverside Brookfield tournament. Will close out her career at Argo scoring close to 2,000 points. Isn't that amazing? Wow, quite a young lady. And, of course, we all remember Argo, at least I do from the old days.
Yeah, I remember.
Ted Klazuski.
Yeah.
Yeah, Big Clue.
Big Clue.
Went to Argo.
There you go.
Yeah, that muscle-bound marvelous specimen of a baseball player. And Adriana has committed to the Horizon League. She's going to go to Wisconsin-Milwaukee.
Very good.
Yeah, so that'll be great. So that's about what I have.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I did look up Nick Irvin. It looked like he went to Fresno State, and I just saw one thing on the wire that might be of interest to all of us.
Oh.
You know who just fired? Tom Thibodeau? And
I heard that
You know what?
coming over. Tom Thibodeau has been let go.
Yeah. You know who rumored to replace him? Fred Hoiberg.
No.
I swear to God.
No! Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Really?
That would be amazing.
Gabe, did you hear that?
Wow.
Tom Thibodeau has been let go of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the guy who
I did see that, and it's funny how that came out, and with the NFL playoffs going on, it kind of flew under the radar there. At this point, you kind of start to wonder, was the problem really the front office, or was the problem with the Bulls' Tom Thibodeau? I mean, obviously he got results on the court, but at what cost? Guys were injured because he practiced them so hard. He didn't play rookies. He would much rather have the starters play the full 48 minutes and never play a rookie. And now you kind of wonder, after getting fired by the Timberwolves with everything that happened there, and with his exit with the Bulls, it kind of makes you wonder: is there going to be another team that takes a chance on them anytime soon?
Well, I mean, there may be a team that will take a chance, but because if somebody's interested, if the Timberwolves are interested in Fred Hoiberg, Tom just has to tone it down, I think. But I don't know if he can do that. His makeup is to go 110 miles an hour all the time, and people just can't keep up with that, because you end up getting burnt out, or you end up getting injured if you're a player.
Wants to win every game.
And I know a lot of those who support Thibodeau say, oh, well, that's what these guys get paid to do. But yeah, they're still human beings. They still need, they still need to give their bodies rest. They still need time to recover in between games. I mean, you can't play a game and then have them practice for the next 3 days afterwards and then go into another game after that. I mean, obviously, just like you said, Tom Thibodeau's, wound up a little differently than most coaches, but, at the same time, he did get results to the Bulls, but like I said, they were costly. And now, you just kind of wonder, what lies for him next? Will, how long will it be, or will another team ever take a chance on him?
Yeah, and I still stand by my thoughts. It's just what I believe. I think he was one of the major factors in the injury to Derrick Rose in that ACL, because he said, hey, these guys are 20-something years old. They'll have the rest of their life to rest. And like you said, he just wanted to continue to run them and pound them and pound them and pound them. And we all forget, you have to keep in mind, that was the strike-shortened season. So these guys were playing like 4 or 5 games in 5 or 6 nights. And the traveling and everything. And you said it. You have to give your body time to heal. You have to give your body time to cool down, rejuvenate, and get back up. And we're playing these games in such a short period of time, and a lot of back-to-backs. Part of it is David Stern to force these guys to play all these games. And I think with Derrick Rose's situation and the Bulls, look, Joakim Noah hasn't been the same since, right? Because of all that pounding, and the body can only take so much. And I think Tom Thibodeau, because of his nature, tried to enforce that among his players, and a lot of these guys ended up breaking down. And
he's probably best just being a great defensive coach on a staff, working with the defense, and not being at the helm.
You got it.
Because he is a magnificent defensive coach.
Right. And who knows? Maybe he and Doc Rivers will reunite. Out in L.A.
Know. Yeah,
and maybe Doc, because Doc was able to contain him. He was able to control him and say, okay, you stay in your lane and take care of the defensive, and I'll handle everything else.
Back in Boston.
Yeah, exactly. So, maybe he needs someone like that, because he's obsessed, to be honest with you.
He's obsessed, and the man lives for basketball.
Yeah.
Absolutely lives for it.
Yeah.
So, for Tom's sake, I hope he will catch on somewhere.
Yeah. I can relate to that.
You guys might have a point, because as knowledgeable as he is about defense, he probably could wind up as an assistant somewhere, because as we know, the NBA has become such an offensive league with so many points scored that it's nice to have a coach on hand that could put a little more emphasis on defense. So maybe that's the route for him to
Yeah,
go. Whether or not he would take that would be
Right.
will be a whole other issue in itself. But again, but we've also seen this in the NFL too, where guys lose their head coaching jobs, but they end up latching on somewhere as an assistant and become successful.
Yeah, well, he's got to partner up with someone that he respects. That's what, and again, he respected Doc Rivers, and that's why Doc was able to get the most out of him. And of course, Boston goes on to win the national championship, NBA championship title. So if he's going to take a back seat, it's got to be to someone that he respects tremendously in order to do that, because his ego won't allow him to do that, in my opinion.
I agree.
What else you got?
Boy, wouldn't he and
Before I let you guys go, let me just get a quick thought about the Bears. Just like we talked about, they definitely have some things to look forward to the future. They've proven that they can be successful. But here are some things to look out for throughout the offseason. And now, of course, now we turn our attention to free agency and the draft. Aside from any roster changes the Bears may make, remember they don't have a first round pick because of the Mack trade. And they may look to trade a player and make some other type of move where they can get a first round pick again, because that's going to be huge. And also, don't be surprised if Vic Fangio interviews for head coaching jobs. There's a lot of vacancies out there right now, and Vic Fangio's name has come up as the next assistant that could be the next head coach. So let's be on the lookout for that. So hopefully he does come back to the Bears sideline next year, but at the same time, a chance to be a head coach is very hard to pass up.
Yeah, he's interviewing with the Broncos and the Browns already. It's said.
Right, it's set up for this week.
And the Dolphins,
now.
Broncos and Dolphins this week. Yeah. My prediction: Nick will take one of those jobs.
Oh, sure. You know what? And we're short on time, and I wish we had addressed it sooner. But and that's why I asked the question earlier: do we think the Bears can make it back or get back to the playoffs? Mm-hmm. If Vic Fangio takes a head coaching position next season, it'll be interesting to see who Nagy brings in as the defensive coordinator. But it's going to be very interesting to see if these players adjust to the new scheme, right, and if they rally behind this new guy.
Well, there's the interesting thing. If Fangio was a holdover from Fox, so he may have his own guy.
Right. Right, yeah. Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this Bears football team during this offseason. Because if Vic Fangio leaves, we might not see that dominating defense that we saw this year.
It's just like when Buddy Ryan left, essentially the same defense, but the new coach had a little different scheme in mind. Jerry, we have a couple
of course. Hey, Gabe, thank you. All good?
Gabe, great hearing your comments.
I'm good, guys. Pleasure joining you as always, and look forward to the next time.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good, brother. Keep up the good work. Gabe Salgado joining us on our TRS60 hotline, ladies and gentlemen, from Ciaranello's Ristorante Italiano here in Wheeling. Marty?
4 quick things. Number 1, prediction tomorrow night: Clemson, Alabama.
Oh, I'm gonna step out, and I think Dabo Swinney and Clemson Tigers. I think they might have Alabama's number. It's going to be a close game, I think. Mm-hmm. But I think Dabo Swinney is very prepared. They did it, 2015 with Deshaun Watson. I think they may upset them. I think they may get Alabama. I'm going to go with Clemson.
Okay. I am
going to
go tomorrow night. I'm going to go. I think Nick Saban's going to do it tomorrow night.
Okay.
But I am rooting for Clemson.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong.
You know, talking about bowl games. Shout out to Northwestern. Don't forget they beat Utah last Monday.
Yes, exactly. Congratulations.
And way behind, and they came back.
Coach Pat Fitzgerald. I was surprised.
It was a wonderful victory.
Surprised. And Coach Pat Fitzgerald, congratulations. He said, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to entertain any NFL jobs."
I'm very, very glad. He doesn't need to get in that hotbed up in Green Bay. Now, Jerry, I am going to call you tonight at about 1 minute to midnight. Be expecting my call, because our dear friend Dan has reminded me that the replay of the DePaul victory over Seton Hall is going to be replayed on FS1.
Guess who was there?
You, I know.
I know. Well, Northwestern also beat Illinois. I couldn't be at both places at the same
Right.
time.
Oh, they came back and beat Illinois.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a nip and
They were
tuck
both
game.
noon games. I had to choose.
Yeah, that was a nip and tuck game.
Yeah.
That was
And speaking of basketball, this week we've got Buffalo Grove over at Glenbrook North on Saturday afternoon. It's a mid to late afternoon game. Dave Weber wants you there.
Really?
4:30.
Buffalo Grove, Glenbrook North at Glenbrook
Put it on your
North.
calendar. 4:30.
okay.
4:30. Okay, two other brief notes. I'm going to leave you with a somber, well, not a somber thought, I think an appropriate thought for the new year. But prior to that, I just want to mention I was very, very saddened when I woke up this week and heard of the passing of Daryl Dragon of the Captain and Tennille.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah.
Love.
Go ahead, Marvin.
Keep us together.
Oh,
Yeah.
I loved him.
They were Captain and Tennille were great.
And you know, I understand that Tennille and the Captain had divorced.
Right.
But at his bedside, Tennille was
She
there.
was there.
She was there.
She was
They're
there.
still close.
And they had a great fun relationship. And yeah, I think 7 years ago they divorced, but she was by his bedside, and he certainly will be missed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And much earlier in my life, I had the privilege, and I want to leave our audience with a thought here for the new year to keep in mind. I had the privilege of being in the company of Georgie Jessel, famous, wonderful comedian of years back, just a very, very fine man, a very good living man, and we had a little conversation over a cocktail.
Oh, really?
At a hotel back in my Motorola years. He was going to be entertaining at one of our functions, and he left me with a rather sobering thought, and I'd like to share it with our audience. It's about friends and friendship. New friends, the new friends that we make are very definitely, we could categorize new friends as silver. However, remember that old friends are truly gold.
There's a song. Make new friends and keep the old. One is silver, the other's gold, right?
Well, that is the very, you stole my punchline there.
I'm sorry.
Dan, that's okay, that's okay. The end of that is, and we'll begin it again, new friends are silver, old friends are gold. However, always make new friends, but by all means, keep the old.
There you go.
That is collaborating with Dan Marver here, that is the New Year thought for the day,
I was gonna sing again.
for the year, with the Rewind Sports 60.
Thank you. And on a sad and disappointing note, I want to say condolences to the family of a good friend of mine who I just learned passed away at the age of 58 years old.
Oh my goodness.
William Dennis. And you guys don't know him, but you've seen him. And many people watching Cub baseball games over the many, many years, 30 plus years, have seen this gentleman. He was a beer vendor at Wrigley Field, and I met him in the early to mid 1980s, and we've been friends ever since, because I used to be a beer vendor at the ballpark as well. But African American gentleman, if you guys remember the big bodybuilding looking type of gentleman to sell the beer.
Oh, yeah. I
Wrigley.
spoke with your wife, Lisa, about, she knew right who I was referring to.
Yeah, William
Real.
Dennis.
Oh my God, bulging muscles.
William Dennis, yeah.
I never knew his name.
He just passed away. I don't have all the details regarding it, the cause or any arrangements or anything like that, and it's a shock to the vendors in the community because he was a great guy, and he had just recently stopped vending and was teaching mathematics over at Malcolm X College.
Really?
Yeah, so he made a transition. He finally, after so many years of vending and selling beer, made the transition to get back into education and was teaching students at Malcolm X College. And I just want to say, William, we miss you. God bless you. Condolences go out to his family and the family of the vendors over at the ballpark. He certainly will be missed because he certainly was a very good guy.
Thank you for
and it's just a
sharing that,
surprise
Jerry.
and a shock that it happened, because he was health conscious before it was fashionable. I mean, he's a bodybuilder, and the guy.
Oh my God!
And the reason he became a bodybuilder, I went to St. Rita High School on the South Side on 63rd Street. He went to Lindblom High School just down the street on 63rd, and he was a plump kid. And I don't know if people were bullying him back in the day or whatever, or making fun of him, but someone introduced him to weightlifting. He got into the locker room. And the rest, as they say, is history. And you would see his, his muscular physique walking all around. And of course, we see him on television and say, "Hey, there's William Dennis." But he was health conscious since he was in high school, and so that's why it's surprising that he passed away. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Oh, I'm certainly glad you did. Now there won't be a time I go to Wrigley Field and I won't think of him.
Yeah.
But it's amazing when I spoke to Lisa, reminding me about the days when you all worked over there at the ballpark there, and I mentioned his name, or didn't mention his name because I didn't know, but I described him right away.
Yeah. Everyone. That's how they knew him, because he's an imposing figure, and he was like a gentle giant.
Yeah,
he's a
seemed
gentle
to be
giant.
That way. Although, boy, he's one guy I'd never want to get out of line with.
I've never seen him express any type of anger or anything like that.
Just a nice guy.
Yeah, he's just a great guy, and he's certainly going to be missed. I can tell you one real story before we say goodbye.
Please.
He was single, didn't have any kids or anything like that, but his one weakness, you guys will love this, was watching Don Cornelius and Soul Train.
Well, I have to share that too.
He would. You too?
Especially the last 10 minutes of the show. Oh, fabulous. Some of those moves have been, fabulous.
I called him one time and said,
some of the best looking women I've ever seen.
Unbelievable. I said, "William, are you coming
Soul
to work?"
Train.
I'm like, "Are you coming to work?" He goes, and it was only on Saturdays. "Are you coming to work?" "No, I'm not coming to work." "Why? What's wrong? Are you sick?" "No, I got to watch Soul Train."
Especially the last 10 minutes when they did the line.
And the Soul Train line, and the Asian woman that was always on there. He goes, I can't come to work. I gotta watch Soul Train," and we just laughed.
Got it before Beta on VCR.
Exactly. So, but gentlemen, do you have any other closing thoughts before we say goodbye?
Just last thing, I caught the first couple of minutes of the Golden Globes. I'm glad I left because I wouldn't want to see any more of it. I don't think it's a professional show, in my humble opinion. But I did leave with this little bit of knowledge that apparently Crazy Rich Asians has made over $200 million already.
Unbelievable.
A thought for the day.
Unbelievable. Have you've seen a movie?
No,
right?
I haven't
seen
seen
you
it
haven't?
yet.
God bless
really?
America. God bless America.
One I want to see is this movie with Rhapsody in it. That's coming.
Bohemian Rhapsody. It's already out.
Yeah,
about Queen.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, Bohemian Rhapsody is going to be coming to the Northbrook Library the second Saturday in February, and it's completely complimentary.
Really?
It would be the 9th.
Let me know, Marty. I'll try to get over there.
I'll remind you.
Yeah. I'll try to get over there.
Okay.
A Star is Born they're up for a number of Golden Globes as well. I haven't seen that one.
They were at the Golden Globes, and they presented an award to Kirk Douglas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I saw Star is Born. I also would recommend the Clint Eastwood movie.
Right.
Now that I want to see. Now, am I correct to understand that A Star is Born has a lot of profanity in it?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it.
Oh, well.
That didn't strike me as
but
a lot.
Lisa saw it, and she didn't mention that to me, so I don't know.
It didn't strike me as a lot.
Because I asked her if she liked it, and she said yeah. Mm-hmm. But she didn't mention anything like that, so I don't know.
Okay. Before we get, share with us a little bit about your marvelous experience on New Year's Eve, your Odyssey dinner.
Oh, it's fantastic, and I got to say, kudos to the staff at the Odyssey, and thanks to my beautiful daughter Teresa, who organized and arranged everything. Marty, it was great. They let us get on board. We were supposed to board at 8:30. We ended up getting on maybe like at 7:45. There are 3 levels plus the viewing deck on top. Because I've never been on the Odyssey before.
Oh, you never have?
I've never been on it before.
Oh my goodness!
So I've heard people, they've gone to dinner and stuff like that.
Oh, it's lovely.
Great arrangement, and we happen to be sitting near a window. And the cool thing about it is, because my daughters are underage, we didn't get the alcohol package. So we thought, right? We didn't. But the Odyssey folks, they upgraded us to the platinum package. So it was all the alcohol I can have, or at least it could have. So we had, champagne all night. We had a glass of wine. The dinner, ravioli, some sort of ravioli. I don't know what the stuffings were inside. Pork chop, chicken breast, and turf and surf.
Ooh.
Turf and surf with
Wow.
filet and a lobster tail. I was like,
Making me hungry.
I was like, oh my goodness, really? And then they had music on 3 different levels. Good music for the older generation,
yeah,
Frank
stuff that we
Sinatra,
like.
Dean
Oh,
Martin.
yeah.
And then the next level, they had it for, other folks with, the 80s music or whatever. And then the top level, they had it for the young folks for their, the music that they're listening to today. So it was a pretty good mixture, and the crowd, the turnout was pretty good as well, and the staff was very accommodating. So all in all, and then at midnight, everyone went onto the observation deck up top, and we got to see all of the fireworks. And I didn't realize this. I don't know if you guys realized it, but we were along the lake, so they had the fireworks at Navy Pier, but they also had the fireworks down the river, the Chicago River.
Oh,
I knew
man.
there were multiple.
Is this the first year they've done that? I don't think that they've ever done that before. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Very much so. No, thanks for sharing that, because I never would have thought that at all.
Right. And it was interesting when my daughter set up everything. She said, well, do we want to take, because, they have multiple boats. So she said, do you guys want to take one on Lake Michigan and go around, Navy Pier, or do you want to take the river? And I was like, well, why would we take the river as long as we're going to see the fireworks? Little did I know they had the fireworks all along the river. So I was taken aback, but it was pretty good, and we ended up docking back at about 12:30, 12:45.
Nice way to end the evening.
Yeah, it was good.
It sounds as though the Riles family truly brought the new year in style.
Oh, it was good, and I'm thankful for my daughter, because she is the complete planner, that's for sure.
Well, yes.
She is the complete
that's good for
planner.
us in the hospitality industry to keep our eye on her.
Yeah. She loves it. So thank you for asking. How about you guys, real quick?
Yes, well, as I said, I had that. While everybody else was engaging in adult activities and games at this wonderful house party that Glenora and I were invited to, I spent my entire evening speaking with a young man who is an incredible young guy. He is a freshman at the University of Texas, San Antonio, and he and I talked for hours on every phase of life.
That's very. I know you were telling me.
Just
some
phenomenal.
of the topics you guys were discussing.
And he's very tuned in the political realm. And should things come to pass with our new endeavor, young Aaron Lopez will definitely be a coveted guest on our show.
Nice. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
We
so
want to
much.
make sure we get the young people's point of view.
We certainly got to do that for
Yes.
sure. Marvelous. How was yours?
Everything's great. Really low key. Sometimes early dinner and a movie, and stay off the roads.
There you go. There you go. Thank you. Well, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. As we say, time flies. It's the fastest 2 hours in sports conversation. Thank you to Dan Marvelous Marver for joining us here at Cirinello's in the Candle Room. And, of course, the man on the street, Marty-B. I want to say special thanks to Gabe Salgado and Kelly Lee Williams joining us on the Rewind Sports 60 hotline. And also thank you for tuning in and being a part of one of the best sports show, if not the best sports show in the city of Chicago. And again, post-game podcast, Chicago Bears, unfortunately their season has come to a close. They're eliminated from the playoffs, falling to the Philadelphia Eagles by a final score of 16-15 over at Soldier Field. Next season begins today. Guys, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the day. Have a great week, and we'll see you bright and early next time here from Cirinello's Restaurante here in Wheeling. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a good one.